Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us online today. Maybe you're tuning in live from one of our social channels or watching this retroactively on YouTube. Before we get started today, I wanted to quickly introduce myself and our team and organization. So we're SheSharp. We're a tech non-for-profit based in the Netherlands, focused on fostering diversity and inclusion within STEM and entrepreneurship spaces. We host mostly online events, especially in this context. Before COVID, obviously, these are more in-person oriented. But now we're starting to branch off beyond this as well. So we've recently launched a mentorship program, and we're in a bit of a luxury situation because we're actually looking for more mentees, particularly if you have an interest in cloud technologies. We have numerous excellent mentors in this subject matter. So if you're interested, please check out our website, shesharp.co/mentorship program. Aside from this, we also launched our online community on Slack. So if you're interested in joining this, head to shesharp.co/Slack to sign up. That brings me to today's festivities. My name is Amanda Marachko. I'm one of the co-founders of SheSharp alongside my teammates, who I'll be introducing in just a moment. Aside from this, I manage partnerships and I will be your moderator for today's chat. I'm joined today by my team. I'll have them wait as I introduce them. We have Sina Bunta, our Director of Events. So if you're looking to speak at a future event, please get in touch with her. And she'll be helping me today with some of our behind the scenes logistics. We have Sarah Jerian. She's our Director of Tech, responsible for our website and all the technical aspects needed to keep our organization afloat. And she'll be triple checking that our broadcast is working smoothly today on our various channels. We also have Emily Lowe joining us today. She's our Director of Comms, and she manages all of our social channels, and she'll be sharing some tidbits of information from today's talk on Twitter. So follow us at SheSharpNL, to take part in the conversation afterwards. And last but certainly not least, we have our team member, Ada, who's not joining with us on the chat today, but she may be helping us moderate some of the conversations that are happening online. So, ciao, guys. Now for our speaker of the hour, Mary Gusetti. Mary is originally from Greece and is currently a software engineer at Bol.com. For those of you who are tuning in to this chat from outside the Netherlands, Bol.com is one of the largest online marketplaces here. And they've recently launched a podcast and channel, and we'll be sharing that a little bit later in our broadcast. Mary is going to be chatting with us about how she tackled technical problems in her role with non-technical approaches. So feel free to comment or add your questions directly to the Facebook or YouTube feed throughout this talk. And at the end, we'll do a live Q&A with Mary. So now over to you, Mary, to kick things off.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everybody. I'm Mary. And I really appreciate you joining me today to discuss war stories from the engineering floor. So the topic I would like, the title of the talk today is When Engineering is Not Enough. A bit more details about me. Mary, I'm from Greece. I studied 5 years there, 1 year here. And then since I felt that I did not learn enough about the Dutch culture, I sticked around a little bit longer. So I'm counting now 6 years working for Bol.com. It was a conscious choice to switch to the industry instead of following an academical career. I do have to admit that I miss the academical challenge. I miss the problems, the complexity of them. On the other hand, I do love working with a team of other engineers and kind of like a group of friends building a software. Also, I like more the balance between work and private life, especially now that I'm starting a multicultural family with my partner from Lithuania, and also saying a bit of goodbye to sports that I have been exploring recently, like running and bouldering, since the only sport I can now do is try to get out of bed and go up the stairs since I'm almost 8 months pregnant. So that is the introduction. A small disclaimer before we start. When I give a talk, I really like to make it a personal story. This is the thing that I can share how I experienced it, and you can draw your conclusions and everything you want for yourselves. I'm really open for questions in the end, so please feel free to ask. Before I start the story, I would like to talk a little bit about the difference between domain and engineering. It's something that I was taught at university, well, not even at university. When you look at the engineering positions, you have mechanical engineering and architectural engineering, and I don't know, electrical engineering and software engineering and computer engineering. We are software engineers, but what is an engineer in general? So I simplified a definition from Wikipedia. We are engineers and professionals. So engineers, we are professionals that work on complex systems to fulfill functional objectives while considering the limitations imposed by practicality, regulation, safety, and cost. So we take the dreams of people and we make them true. We make them reality in a way. But the dreams can be anything, and that's where the domain comes in. So I'm a software engineer in a time when software is everywhere. Probably you might be sharing the same problem. So what can we do? Sometimes I really think sky is the limit, like we can do everything we want, we can be anything we want right now. But on the other hand, then I have a friend from high school asking, hey, can you fix my computer? Well, not really, but it's running software. Yeah, but that's not exactly what I do. I'm not going to dig in the Windows code and trying to fix what's going on. Can I be a scientific programmer? Well, I could, but I do need to put more effort in that specific science that programmer is supposed to support. So thinking about all this, and since my first job happened to be at the web shop, I thought that, well, there is nothing I cannot do here. I can work on anything. I mean, it's a web shop. How complicated can it be? The first 3 years worked like that. So pretty predictable. I could solve kind of any puzzle in an engineering ways, make it faster, make it better, all kinds of things like that. And then I found search. And search was a true gem for me. It was critical enough. So if search is not working at bol.com, well, it's very, very difficult to buy stuff. It's complex. Search is an inherent complex problem. We have 60 million products, and you put a query, and I have to find exactly what I think you're looking for. And you might think, well, it's obvious, but it's not as obvious as you think. For example, if you are looking for a switch, a few years ago, there would only be an answer. If you would ask me, I'm looking for a switch, what am I looking for? I would be like, a network switch. Duh. What else? Since the introduction of Nintendo Switch, I think if somebody's looking for Switch, chances are they're looking for Nintendo Switch or games. Apart from that, it's also not very straightforward. There are multiple purposes you can go to bol.com. You might be looking for inspiration. You might be looking for a product. We have queries from I want iPhone blah, what X or S or whatever, to couch. So as you can see, there is a big difference between the two. One is more explorational. You want to see variety. You want to see options. The other one is, I want my iPhone. So the way I see it is really, as an engineer in the search domain, you are this person with the pins, dropping them in the air, trying to balance everything, trying to find the correct timing, the correct moment to respond to a question. And also you have to do it pretty fast. So it really felt like a real engineering challenge. I was so happy. Later, I also saw that search can also be a little trap, especially when you work on not in a search domain, because I mean not in a search targeted company like Elastic, I guess. So search looks so simple. First of all, there are many out-of-the-box solutions. Somehow, everybody's an expert, because when you put a query, you already know what you're looking for. So for you, it's really obvious what you're looking for. If I put queen and I'm looking for the band and you give me the band, you're correct. But if I'm looking for a queen mattress or a queen size bed and you give me queen the band, I'm like, what? What is this? This is not what I'm looking for. Furthermore, there are many perspectives. There are people with preferences that want certain things to be there or not. You have to be fair. You have to not censure the products that are coming in. You have to make sure that you're not influencing what people want, because we are also in a very responsible position right now. And furthermore, as people using the internet, we are all quite spoiled. If I go back to the day that I was at high school, one of the courses was computers, and what we learned there, apart from Word and Excel and things like that, and how the computer basically works, we also learned how to search in search engines. For example, we learned that if you want, you need to put keywords, and if you want two keywords to be together, then you need to put quotes around it, and then you can use keywords to change and give priority to what you're looking for, and so on. So back then, the responsibility for the query was with the user side. If I'm giving you stupid queries, then it's not the engine's fault that it does not respond to me. And that has drastically changed in the last years. Not to the point that it's the problem, it's the responsibility as with a search engine. But search engines are currently responsible to even fix things that we cannot. As it was mentioned, I'm Greek. And in Greece, we're using a different alphabet. If any Greek person sees this query, it makes absolutely no sense. If you quickly look at it, I'm like, this is gibberish. This is a cat walking over my keyboard, and that's how this came there. It's not possible. However, if I take a second look, what I can see is that if you use a QWERTY keyboard, because the keyboards have my keyboard has two layouts, a Greek one and an English one. So if accidentally I try to write something in English with my Greek layout keyboard, that would spell actually Facebook. And as you can see, Google already knows. Even it suggests. So the second option, it's cover size. I really Googled it to see what is this, because I could not parse it. So currently, the expectations for search are enormous. And it doesn't matter where are they applied. It doesn't matter if you're Google or if you are bol.com or any other shop. There are certain expectations. So after this little intro, I'm going to start my story. So once upon a time, when I was young and naive, like this little teddy bear, I joined a team of engineers. And we were assigned the task of migrating from the previous search engine that we had, Endeca, to Elastic. I already had, from my first team for the first 3 years at bol.com, experience with Elastic, but our use case was much more limited. So it was not about customers, it was about partners when they had specific things in mind to do and specific flows. So the scope was much, much smaller, and also the variety of the users was also pretty small. So I joined all happy and ready to get to work. Along with the migration, in the end, we actually became the search team. And as I said, it was a team with only engineers, no search background. But we were all tackling this like any other problem. I've worked in the offer domain, I've worked in the product domain. There's no problem with that. I can do the job. So I will focus on one particular aspect of this. So in bol.com, we have something we call the popularity score. This is actually using customer feedback to figure out how popular a product is. So we consider positive signals if somebody buys it or views the page or adds it to wishlist. And when we took this project, there was already a popularity score there, which was actually a proof of concept from like 8 years before. And that was a formula. It was 100,000 times a summation. So what they did, for every day, they would give a weight to the purchases of the product, of the views of the product, and the wish list of the how many times it was added in the wish list. And then they would divide by the how many days was that in the past. What you achieve with that is that the older the interaction, the less significant it is. So looking at it, it did not really it did not give you a good feeling, but it also, I could not exactly find what was bothering me with it. So the oldest the signal, the less important it is. Makes sense. Purchases can be more important than views. Makes sense. 90 days, sure, why not? 100,000 makes no sense, but it was there, so who cares? I mean, I can divide with it and still find what I want. But it still did not give me a good feeling. And it was not only about the formula, it was also about the numbers. The numbers were pretty obscure. For example, a Chromecast had a popularity score of 50 billion, so on. And the most popular dishwasher had 224 million. And on one hand, it makes sense. Like a Chromecast is something you buy more often. More people it's more hip. Dishwasher, you buy one, hopefully it will last you for 10 years. So I do understand it. But on the other hand, I'm also not getting the concrete answer of how much more and things like that. But this is what it was. And it worked for 8 years. And even if it gives you a fuzzy feeling, in the industry, this is not a good enough reason to start snooping around and changing functionality, especially when you have bigger fish to fry. So why am I talking about this? Because any score or anything that comes from a customer feedback, it has a problem, an inherent problem, and that is called the cold start problem. What this means is that when something is new, it has a disadvantage. And depending on how popular that thing is going to be, the disadvantage could be really hurting business. For example, we have PlayStation 4. Has been there for a while. Don't ask me how long. I have a Nintendo Switch. But anyway, it has been there for a while. It had a lot of use. As you see here, we're talking something between Chromecast and the dishwasher. 623 million. And then, recently, PlayStation 5 was released. It has no interactions. It's 0. However, when it starts at least, when it's released. However, we all know that if people are looking for PlayStation at that specific moment in time, they're looking for PlayStation 5. Unless they're hoping the price of PlayStation 4 will drop, but usually they're looking for PlayStation 5. So that was the problem, and that's what we had to fix. And there are multiple versions of this. It can be a new book. It can be seasonal. For example, in the summer, the 1 week of summer we have in the Netherlands, it can be ventilators or air conditioning, and so on. So the question, can you fix it? And then I'm racking my brain, and I cannot come up with anything on how to fix this, anything that could actually work. And then people, the experts, as I said earlier, they started like, it's not that difficult. Can you just put new products on top? But I'm an engineer. And as we said, we think about limitations. So I can already say, no, this will not work. Because if we have a new partner, or there's a new batch of toilet brushes, I will also put them on top if I put every new product on top. And do you really want the PlayStation 5 to be competing with a toilet brush? Does it even make any sense? So, sorry, that's not that easy. Then it was like, can't you add a number? Yeah, but what number? You see that the numbers are varying from a few thousand, which means nothing, to billions and millions. Where do you put this? What boost do I give? If the most popular of a Chromecast if something that is not popular in the media player section is still more popular than a dishwasher, what number do I add? Okay, fine. Another suggestion, don't start from 0. Use something else. Use the middle. Again, we have 15 million books at bol.com currently available. I'm not even talking about the unavailable ones. Putting it in the middle is putting it in position 7 million. How is that any different? Who is going to go? Who is going to scroll? I don't think that's even possible. I think Elasticsearch will work before that. And then it's like, can you think of any way of influencing it? Not without having to choose by ourselves what is popular or not. And I don't want to do that. I cannot influence what people will find. This is not right. It's too much power. We need to be responsible. So we were stuck. Every kind of solution was wrong. So we tried, apart from the influencing one and the adding new products on top, we tried adding random numbers, we tried boosting, we tried this, we tried that. Nothing really made any difference. And I was not surprised, but the thing is, I had nothing better to suggest. So I thought I didn't have the right to say, no, this is not going to work. That's something I learned in the process. So let's continue. Then somebody said, maybe it needs to mean something. And I was like, yes. Maybe the problem is with the formula itself. Maybe we shouldn't just try to tweak it. Maybe it needs to mean something. And then there was a discussion. Yes, but it does mean something. It means that Chromecast is more popular than the dishwasher. So what meaning do you want? That's what it means. And it's influenced by purchases and views. So again, what are you looking for? And I still had this fuzzy feeling in my tummy that I was like, yes, that's not the answer I'm looking for. That stayed there for a while until a year later, we got First Blood, and also people that came back from search background. So search has its own science corner in the world, and that's information retrieval. And a whole set of algorithms and research and stuff like that I was totally unaware of. So they said, you need to make it explainable. That already started giving it a form. So that number, yes, it means something, but it's not explainable. I cannot see it and tell you where it came from. It's also a bit arbitrary. So if you look at the, I cannot point here, but if you look at the top graph, is our previous formula. And that formula is a linear formula. So the decay goes in a linear trend. When you decide to stop it at 90 days, it's pretty arbitrary. If you go from 90 to 60 or from 60 to 100, it makes a huge difference on the score. So that already should have given me a signal that there is something wrong with it. But yeah, I didn't get it at that point. So what they said is, we need to make it explainable, aka make it predictable. Make it a prediction itself. Don't just add what happened in the past. Use what happened in the past to predict what you think is going to happen tomorrow. And that's what we did. So we changed the formula in the following way. We took every signal, so views, purchases, and wishlist additions, and later we also took returns and so on. And we did this. We still did the summation part, but of different things. And we changed the linear formula. So the weight of the day, instead of being linear, it became exponential. So it was 0.9 to the power of the day that you are. Why is that important? Is because, well, 0.9 we found from literature, it's a good starting number. But apart from that, as you see on the second graph, which represents the top part that we see of the summation, not the summation itself, but every day, what score do you get? It goes exponentially. And when you're reaching the 90 days, as you see, it's really, really low. So adding 95 days or 100 days or it does not add much. It becomes a natural cutoff instead of being an arbitrary one. And that already makes you feel nice. So apart from that, since we're adding multiple things, we also need to divide with the weights. So we did that. And that's how we got a signal prediction. After that, we used exactly the same weights, even the 100,000 thing, but I did not add it here because it's not that important, to calculate the popularity score. Why is this better? Because this one you can actually check. So for example, if you want to challenge something, if you want to tell me, you're not predicting your purchases well enough, then I can actually check. What did I predict yesterday about the sales today? Did it match or not? Is the 0.9 good or not? Should I change it? Should I do something different? Should I not take 90 days? Should I take 60 or 10? This is actually something I can check. And that's already a huge improvement. This works actually pretty well. And furthermore, it made one more thing so obvious. So if you see the signal prediction, forget about the popularity score. What you see is we always take from day 1 to day 90. Let's say that PlayStation 5 was released yesterday. What we're going to add is 0.9 times how much purchases did it got yesterday. Everything else is going to be 0, but we're still going to divide with the weight of every single day. That already feels a bit, maybe there is something in there, maybe there's something we can improve, because we are giving a disadvantage to a product that had no chance of having traffic before. Even if it had traffic, even if, for example, it was a ventilator that has been there forever, but this week it starts getting really hot and people start looking for it. Why should we penalize it because the weather before it was actually pretty cold? So then, if you just replace the 90 with X, I don't know if you see where I'm going with this, and you say that X is the first day of interaction within the time frame that we are checking. So for example, if we take the 90 days, if this product has traffic only the last 3, I'm going to take into consideration only the last 3 days. That will give it a competing chance compared to all the other products that had traffic for a longer amount of period, but they had less traffic in the last 3 days, because the last days are the most important ones. They give you a bigger, it affects it more. It's not the same the other way around. If something was really popular like 3 months ago, but not anymore, so it's going down, you don't want to give it that advantage, because the trend is different. So we're more sensitive to trends like that. So we did put it live and we did do the test. And unfortunately, this could not be analyzed in the quantity. So we did the A/B test, but we did not get a big difference in conversion, because this is targeting specific products. So a big release, a change in the weather, things like that. So this is still, we can keep improving, but qualitative, we gave this to be checked by specialists that we have within the company, and they already saw that for releases of PlayStation 5, of new books and things like that, we already saw a much better progress than it used to have before. So I started with a software engineering definition. I started talking about math, but my point is, and what I want you to take away, we're engineers. We can be engineers of anything, but we're engineers and we have tools to do our jobs and follow our passions. However, while we're jumping from domain to domain, because whether we like it or not, everything right now is software. So from working to search to working at a bio facility or whatever, you change domain. It's good to identify the tools you don't. And if something inside tells you that I cannot come up with a correct solution, it might be that your engineering and your professional gut feeling that you have, your experience already tells you you are lacking tools for this specific task. However, nobody will stop you from actually getting that, asking for people for help, finding that expertise. I wish we have figured out earlier that we're missing search knowledge in the search team. So we could not actually play on the league that Bol.com wants to play on the search field. So most important, trust yourself. If you think something is a bad solution, it might actually be a bad solution. Not being able to say what a good solution, not having a good solution should not invalidate your feeling that this is not going to work. Maybe we need to look somewhere else. Maybe we need help. But I think I would have saved my team a lot of value if I would have said, okay, I don't have a solution, but we need to find somebody that does. Let's look for this. Or ask the question, why? Why do we think this will not work? I'm not here just to code. I can add the weight I can put like plus 500,000 there, but that's not going to solve your problem. So thank you very much. And I hope you enjoyed it and you have plenty of questions.
Thank you so much, Mary. That was super informative. There's a few questions that we have. And of course, if you're watching this still live, feel free to add your comments to either Facebook and YouTube, and we'll also add them into our queue. So this question is from Sarah from our team. What other non-technical skills not mentioned in this presentation can help you in your career as an engineer?
I'm going to quote a teacher I had, a professor I had at university. We had a course software engineering, and he told us that software engineer is one of the most social professions that you can ever find. You literally have to work with a team during the working hours, and you have to be interchangeable. They have to know everything you think of, everything you've implemented. You have to be on par because as a team, you're responsible for that part. So I would say social skills, being able to communicate, keep people in touch with what you're doing and explain and getting people with you are the most important things as a software engineer.
Absolutely. And I think many of our team echoes that statement. And I actually had another question kind of similar to that, but obviously data science, having some sort of like finger on the pulse with data science is important for any type of engineering role. Mm-hmm. But I think many developers and engineers, maybe they don't know where to start. Do you have any tips for someone who's just starting out in their career, like how to put their toe in the water with learning data science and kind of training your brain to think more in a data-oriented fashion?
Yes. So I think the best thing you can is to actually get somebody in your team with that background. So that's what we've done. So within the search of Bol.com, we are a mixed team of data scientists and software engineers. And the challenge is to keep everybody involved. So I started doing an introductory course on machine learning in this specific case to get some basic terminology and a little bit of the way of thinking. But the most important thing is when they help me take me with them. So every data science or machine learning algorithm, it depends on what your background is. The same way with the software engineering is even more tight on the domain. So if you're interested in general, start with an introductory course, learn the basics. But if you need it for your work yesterday, get somebody in the team and work closely together. And it will take some time to get to the language correctly, because in the beginning, you don't know what the background of each person is. But if you have the good attitude, I have made more progress with my data science colleagues than I've done for years trying to read the book.
Yeah, for sure. Do you happen to know of any local meetups or anything in the Netherlands that are focused on data science? There's just a follow-up question from someone on our team.
I can find out. I can ask my colleague. I know he has been in a few. So I can post it on, I can send it to you and you can post it on the account.
That's perfect. Yeah, we'll follow up on that because I think it's quite a cumbersome task or undertaking to start with data science. It seems like a big mountain to climb. So I think any resources, especially at the beginning, is super helpful.
Don't be afraid of it. So I would say it's a new world and it's a different skill to have. So don't be afraid of data scientist or try to say, yeah, that does not feel good for me, because it is scary, right? But you need both expertises, and denying it is not going to solve your problem. So embrace it.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question for you. Have you ever been met with resistance in your approach to engineering or this approach in particular, I should say, not specific to you, but this data-driven approach to engineering and finding solutions? Has there ever been pushback from, maybe traditional software engineers who are kind of reluctant to take that approach?
Yes, it happens more often. I think than it happens in the small things. So one part is what I said before, that feeling that I did not have the confidence to say, trust me, this is not going to work. You're spending your money on this. I felt bad that I did not have an alternative, and I kind of passively aggressively handled it like, this is not going to work. So I had to learn a few social skills there as well. But definitely it's a scary thing, and you have to wait a bit longer, right? Because the data needs to come in and you have to have the data first. So it requires a longer investment and people want results yesterday. So it is a fight, and you need allies. You need like-minded people around you, not only from a software engineering perspective, but for stakeholders, business perspective. They need to understand where are the benefits. And I think it's our responsibility to explain why this cannot be fixed by making it faster. Mm-hmm. I can make it as fast as you want. Well, I don't, but up to a certain point. But you will not get the answer you're looking for.
Yeah. I think what you touched upon as well is applicable as well to even non-engineering functions, like, having a data-backed approach, waiting for the results to come in, waiting to having those measurable actions is, helpful for anybody at any position, actually. So it's not even, there are people on this chat today tuning in who I'm sure are not software engineers. And I think even that can be applicable for them in their functions as well.
Definitely. Don't be afraid of the data. It takes time to get them, but you're going blind otherwise. Add the number. What number? 5, 10, 1 million? What am I going to do with this?
Yeah, totally a shot in the dark. And then, lots of wasted resources on something that may not even add value.
Exactly.
I know that you mentioned popularity score as sort of like the key calculation of the metrics that you try to consider, or at least as a good pulse check, a good starting point. Mm-hmm. Are there other metrics that you think need to be considered, especially with regards to search? What are some of the other metrics that are like really good key indicators of success for you?
So actually popularity is not even, it's not a metric, I would say. It's something we used because we did not have anything better. So if you look in the search domain, there are NDCG score, and there are actually metrics specified for comparing lists and what people chose and how does it score. So right now we have totally switched our approach to learning to rank and seeing what people clicked, and then trying to figure out, let the machine figure out what is the best combination for certain things. And we are learning from it. So we're using this feedback to experiment and validate what we learn. And then at some point even make a pipeline for it that will do it by itself. So you cannot go from 0 to 100 in one go. But we've made so much more progress because those models are are doing gazillions of comparisons to figure out what works. I cannot do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So really leaning heavily on the ML side of things.
Yes.
Actually, are there other external metrics or factors that your team monitors, like scraping blogs or press, or you mentioned like even the weather can be like a good predictor or things of that nature? Or how do you like track this as well? And or can you even proactively prepare for the new PlayStation launch? Is there something that your team does to kind of, make
we
sure
don't do it yet?
Mm.
I do think there is a valuable insights there because, as you say, things make noise, right? And you could learn from that noise, and then don't even start from zero the day of the release. Start from something much higher. However, we're already struggling with the information we currently have, so we haven't expanded it further. So we see it as make a solid basis and enrich it.
Yep.
So that is for now the approach.
Yeah, well, I'm very curious to learn more about if you end up expanding this as well, because there's so many learnings that there's so much to ML, and especially with a lot of the new releases that have come this past year, I think there's just like endless opportunities there too.
Yes.
There's just something a bit like off topic slightly, but you mentioned, there's a lot of power and responsibility tied to search. And I was wondering if you could touch a little bit about like the ethics in software engineering and how engineers in general can make more ethical decisions in their day-to-day work, and how your team has sort of applied that to your day-to-day jobs.
Yeah. So for me is engineers. I'm not going to opening backports and stuff like that. Those are like pretty obvious. But the way I see it, I'm working in search, and if I want, I could say, oh, my friend is selling at bol.com, and then I can boost them, and then they will sell more. Because let's be honest, people, especially if it's not like PlayStation 5, but I want a table for my, I need an office since I'm working from home. So I need a desk and a screen and stuff like that. I will check a few. The first 100, that's already pretty a lot. But then I will stop. So if you're not there, the chances are your conversion and your sales are not going to be that much. So for me, it's very important from our side that we make sure that we are not influencing it in any way. So in things like controversial topics, right?
Yes.
That bol.com has been in the, how do you say, in the news for this. It's not up to me. I don't want to influence it in either way, because then I put my personal opinions in a search engine, and I find that a terrible, terrible, terrible. So we have been pretty clear that we are not going to put any custom logic. Because it's not up to us. This is not it's not something fair.
Yeah. Do you find it's trickier for some of the like smaller businesses or, really solo entrepreneurs or the smaller companies to start out on Bol, or is there anything in place for them to kind of, get a bit more traction in comparison to some of the the big players that are listed on the platform? Is there anything in place?
Actually, I don't know, because I'm not working anymore on the on that part. So for search, we take we don't take into consideration who is selling it. So we don't care if you're bol.com or anything. We just get scores from other teams that are specialized in the domains, and they tell us that, hey, this is that. We are considering of getting quality scores of products, but that's not there yet. So something we took into consideration is returns.
Yes, that's a great one, actually.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, maybe something in the future we will have to do a recap with you in a year from now to hear about all the new cool things that Bull has rolled out. I think we're running out of questions, but I don't know if there's any final words from your side. Of course, anyone else who's watching the broadcast, if they would like to add any of their questions, now is the perfect time to chime in. But before we wrap up, I just wanted to quickly mention again that Bull.com has a podcast that is really, really innovative, and it's in English, so very accessible to the international audience of our community and beyond the Netherlands as well. Lots of great content on there, especially if you're starting a business or looking to venture into the tech industry. I would definitely recommend checking it out. And thank you so much for your time today, Mary. It was so lovely to chat with you, and I'm sure I can speak for myself and our team. Like, we've learned so much from you today, and hopefully we'll be able to hear more from you in the future as well. And thank you so much.
Thank you too. I like to hear that more people are struggling with the things I have been struggling too. So it's nice you're not alone in this world.
The struggle is real. The struggle is real, girl. Cool. Well, thank you so much, and we'll speak to you again